Who has the bigger legacy? Who has the greatest? Who is the greatest of the greatest when it comes to the Premier League? We're ranking, we're tiering tonight live on the Football Terrace. Make sure you stay with us. We're looking at Ryan Giggs, Didier, Drogba, Sergio Aguero, and Luis Suarez. Where will they fit by the end of the show? Where will they fit? Where will they be placed when it comes to the tier maker rankings? Will they be in the Hall of Fame Legends category, top 20, future Hall of Famer, over or underrated? Or could they be left like Rashford and Pulisic are right now, as uncategorized at this moment in time? We've got a brilliant panel tonight ready to come on and have their say. Have Hope should be joining us pretty soon. We should be getting him on very, very soon. Make sure that like button smash. You know the super chat rules when it comes to this. Great way to donate to the Football Terrace and keep us going, keep us alive, keep us moving forward. We're going to bring the panel on now. David is here. Gav's here. Hussam is here. Hussam is here, I should say. And also, we've got two of the most outspoken, some would say delusional, some would say fact-speaking Liverpool fans in the world. I think I like that. I like the way they both are. That's why I keep inviting them back. We've got man like LFC Sonny in the house as well. It's going to be an epic show. Let's jump straight into this. Evening, boys. How are we all?
Good.
Yeah, what's up, people?
I'm very excited.
You excited?
Excited for the show. Football's back tonight, so
yes. Football. Honestly, like I wish I could do. I don't even want to talk normal football at the minute. I just want to have fun like this. This weekend's a weird one because every single one of our teams has got a game we should all be winning. And sometimes they're my favorite weekends because it's whoever has that banana skin. Do you know what I mean? There's no let-offs. You kind of know. Say like you've got Chelsea, have got Villa, but actually Man United are playing Liverpool and City are playing Tottenham. You kind of know like another rival's going to drop points anyway. So losing, it's not the end of the world. But when you've all got gimmies, when you've all got coupon busters, it's going to be good. But tonight's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to delve into this straight away. Who we're going to start with. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever name of player we see the most come up, that's who we're picking first to talk about and discuss. Of course, you can super chat your winner in tonight to place them as high up as possible. As high up as possible. We'll have at least two from tonight can go into the Legends category and Hall of Famers, but no more than that. So your super chats will count later on in the show. Who we're talking about first? Okay, I've seen quite a few Agueros. So let's go for Aguero straight away. Anyone fighting Aguero's corner tonight for being greater than Drogba, greater than Giggs, greater than Suarez, having a better legacy in the Prem? Who's got Aguero's back tonight?
You can't deny what Sergio Aguero has done. That guy deserves a trophy outside that stadium. And the fact that, like everyone bangs on about how City spend so much money and whatever. They do spend a lot of money, but they don't spend money in terms of we're going to buy 10 players for 100 mil. They only broke that thing this year with Grealish. They bought him for just 38.5 million. I know Liverpool were in for him at the same time as well. And since he's come over, even though he didn't fulfill all 30 games, I think he only ever played 34 games maximum one particular season, he has turned up and performed every single season, season in, season out. It's a travesty how he wasn't in Team of the Year more often. I think he got in it once. Just for a little bit of kudos, just to make sure. Twice. It was twice. Yeah, but every year he should have been in it. Every single year, because he just performed at the right moment, scoring important goals at important times in the league, in important seasons for City to go on and do something special as well. So for me, he is a legend of the game. 184 goals in the Premier League.
But Gav, you say really good every season, which he is. The thing is about this sort of stream is I can't call any of these players bad. But the thing is with Aguero is you look at the players he's played with, Torre, De Bruyne, Mahrez, all the quality he's played with. For me, I think he needs an extra 5 goals a season to kind of like put him in. I don't know what the word is, but he had to do more for me every single season. He had a good season every season. But with Aguero, for me, it had to be great. Look at his team around him. If he's known as one of the greats, I just thought he had to score a few more goals every season. But what we can give him, he's got the most iconic moment ever. But in terms of every single season, obviously injuries has ruined it towards the end of his career. But he should be scoring more goals season in, season out for me. He scored enough, but that's what makes it a good season. He should be having more than a good season for me.
But don't you think that's more consistency then? Because he's
no,
consistent,
he's consistent,
and the goals are being spread out around the whole team, innit? So like, because you know, like you always hear all the time, oh, you need a goal, you need a player who's going to score you 30 goals a season. Those sort of days are gone now. We're getting midfielders wading in with goals, with 10 goals. We're getting wingers wading in with goals. Like, you're a Liverpool fan, innit? You know, your main guy isn't your number 9 anymore. It's your guys that are coming in off the wings. So goals are being spread out all over the place. So to say that he needs more goals, that's taking goals away from someone else. Everyone's wading in, everyone's chipping in. So
that was the only part of his game, though.
You know what I said about Aguero, though, that stands out for me? It's interesting this comes up because people often think when I talk about awards or player of the years or being loved, and I say that I think awards are a little bit corrupt. People always think I'm doing it to defend just one person, which is Paul Scholes, and I'm not. But because Man City don't have the fan base that Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United do, Aguero's always been disrespected. I believe that he was never in the conversation as regularly as Suarez when he was firing, or Drogba when he was firing, or Kane, is because there just wasn't enough people behind. Like, Harry Kane gets it. If Harry Kane wasn't English, he'd be ignored in the same way that Aguero was. Aguero was also, I don't think I heard him talk once in the whole time he was in the Prem. I can't remember. One time I saw an interview with him. Him and Martin Tyler did an interview like in the build-up to his last game. That's the first time I heard him talk. He wasn't a poster boy in that sense. He wasn't in front of the media. He wasn't a superstar of his team, if that made sense. And I think that goes against him. But 260 goals, 73 assists in 330 games, 5 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 6 League Cups. He was in the Player of the Year twice. I look at that and just think to myself, it's in terms of out-and-out strikers, for the volume of games that he played, he's better than any other striker that's played in the Prem. Like, for overall achievements as an individual, goals per minute, the level of assist, and then what he won. And his goals, the amount of games he won for Manchester City is impeccable. Yet he didn't do it he didn't in terms of Premier League. Now, he didn't do it in Europe. No City player has done it in Europe because they haven't won a European trophy, and that matters. But for me, I think he has a huge legacy. I think that he should, as you say, statue outside Man City 100%, greatest striker in their club's history. And he is someone for me that I see 100% as a future Hall of Famer, if not a legend already in the Premier League. I think he's so underrated and disrespected. It's unbelievable. Listen, what's your thoughts on Aguero?
Aguero, obviously, when his name is mentioned, the first thing you remember is that goal he scored against QPR. Obviously, those were sad times for Liverpool Football Club when we used to just celebrate United not winning the league. So I celebrated the hell out of that moment. I was so happy when he scored it. With Aguero, obviously, got into the team of the season twice, as you guys said. The problem is with Aguero, he always had like a few injuries every single season, and it never really allowed him to play as many games as you'd expect. So like it was always like, out for 10 games, out for 15 games. I think he has the best goal return ratio per 90 in Premier League history, which is absolutely mad. Like it's mental, but you do have to respect it. And like his legacy, I'm not gonna just, the problem is all 4 players today, you can't really just go like, this guy doesn't belong in the conversation. They're all there for a reason. But the thing is with Aguero, when I look at more like other strikers in Premier League history, like the likes of an Henry, a Shearer, a Rooney, etc., I think they just have more of an argument. And I just, like, honestly, I can't put my finger on why, but I just feel like there's something in me that just keeps going like, Aguero should have done more. As crazy as it sounds, I just feel like Aguero.
I think it is the Man City. I think the fact, like, if you play for Man City, like every Man City player, it sounds peak, but when it comes to legacy, they're all going to be near the bottom because they don't have enough traction to push them further forward. I think the only person who might have enough is Kevin De Bruyne when he finishes. He might be the only one, but the rest of them, they don't have enough. I think Aguero literally had the most iconic moment in Premier League history, and yet we're still saying his legacy is near the bottom compared to when you talk about everybody else.
David, you're right. It's indoctrination. we have certain clubs and certain players rammed down our throat because of the popularity of their fan bases. For instance, let's just say we've had it for 20 years in the Prem, 30 years in the Prem. Man United are dominating. We're winning nearly everything. We're dominating at every level. You know what, though? We can't just make all their players the best players, all their players in the team of the year, all their players winning all the awards. Why not? Well, because we need to keep the Liverpool fans and the Arsenal fans and the Chelsea fans watching Match of the Day, watching Sky Sports. So you throw in the controversy is always that people think that YouTubers created clickbait. YouTube has created like contentious moments. No, it's always been thrown out there. You know, it was always a contentious thing for Man United fans to win a treble and to have like not dominate team of the year, to have like, you know, not win PFA player of the year. But we know why they did it. And it was to keep other people in. Oh, what was the point of watching the award ceremony? Nowadays, it's changed a little bit. Like the team that wins the major trophies nearly always has the player taken out of that team to win the Ballon d'Or, UEFA Players of the Year. You're never going to see another moment again where a player wins Champions League Player of the Year, but he went out in the semi-finals. Doesn't matter if he's got a hat-trick in every game, he ain't winning it. Someone in the winning team wins it now. It's changed a little bit, but I agree. I just think Aguero is so disrespected because of the club that he played for. If he was a Liverpool player and did that, imagine winning 5. If any player ever won 5 Premier Leagues to Liverpool, these guys there'd be statues. Forget outside the stadiums. Scousers would build statues of them in their gardens. They'd love him for it.
Yeah, but Terry, the thing is with Aguero, I think it's the fact that he's played in too good of a team. Like, look, when there's like an approach to a final or something, you wouldn't go, "Oh, I can't wait to see what Aguero's doing." Think, "Oh, there's Kevin De Bruyne in that team. There's Sterling, there's Suarez, there's Gundogan. There's so many other players who you can look at the same time and go, they're gonna have a big game." If you look at the other players, Drogba approaching the final, you would only think of Drogba. Suarez in that Liverpool team, you'd only think of Suarez. Giggs is to the same extent, but we'll get to him. I just think what's his name, Aguero, he's just too good of a team. Too many equal players.
Let me ask a question there. Sorry, David. So what you're suggesting is that you've got a smaller legacy if you're a big fish in a big pond with other big fish, but you can be as good as Gerrard, but because Gerrard was a big fish in a small pond, you rate him more.
No, but in terms of remembrance and legacy, yes. Doesn't mean you're better. Doesn't mean you're worse. But as a legacy, yeah.
Let's say this then, right? In 5 years' time, who else apart from I'm going to say Yaya Toure, I'm going to say Kevin De Bruyne, and then Aguero. Apart from those three, off the top of your head, who are you going to remember like straight away in 5-10 years' time from City?
No, I'm not saying Aguero's not a legend.
Yeah, but when you talk about City, you automatically think of those 3 players. You can then think about the others. You can think about Zabaleta, because for me, peak Zabaleta was probably the best right back in the league. And like you could look at Gundogan, look at Silva, Company. But in terms of like when you mention City straight away, they are the first 3 players you're going to mention straight away. Aguero being one of them. That for me tells me legacy.
I hear you on. I think Aguero, but I think this is the thing. I also think David Silva. I think Vincent Kompany. I do think they've got so many players.
Even Joe Hart for me.
Joe Hart to a degree, that they've got so many players that do it. The reason they're not discussed as much, it don't trend because they're not as popular. The only time City trend is when they've done something wrong and everyone else is trying to get them cancelled. That's literally it. Like
a little bit of time, though, Terry. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I do.
I'm in my 30s.
No, and I get that, bro. But I think it's us as fans. We speak all the time about like last night. I was being told that like we should respect like greatness from other clubs and everything else. And then people literally say, "Oh, well, yeah, Aguero's legacy doesn't mean much because no one really cares because it's City." And it's like, well, why don't we make it matter? Why don't we push that agenda? And I don't know. Daniel's joined us now. That's where Aguero is. I want to speak about the next player here. Didier Drogba. Didier Drogba, absolute star of the Premier League. He actually played for Chelsea only 9 games less than Aguero played for Manchester City. 381, 164 goals, 86 assists. 4 Prems, 4 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, a Champions League. Again, with Drogba, only 2 teams of the year. And he got into 1 FIFA Pro 11 in 2007 as well. So, you know, in terms of achievements, only really one thing that Aguero didn't have, and that was a Champions League win. I'll go to David first on this. Like, where do you put someone like Didier Drogba's legacy and greatness in the Premier League above an Aguero? Like, and where did he sit for you amongst the elites?
For me, out of the 4 players we're talking about today, he is at the top of the list. Now, when I say that, it's not because he's the best player out of all 4. He's not for me. But when we're talking about legacy, I think for me he's the top, simply because he had the 20 goal seasons. He had that 29. He had a season where he got 29 goals. He got another season where he got 20 goals. But the fact he was in, what was it, like 10 finals or 11 finals and scored in 9 of them, like for me, that record itself is unprecedented. When you think of all-time clutch player, who do you want for a final? Didier Drogba is on everyone's lips. Everyone's lips. Everyone knows that goal for the Champions League when he showed up against probably one of the best Bayern Munich teams for a very long time, and he, not single-handedly, but he scored the goal and he scored the penalty. He's had so many moments, even when you look at in the Premier League, so many like world-class goals where he's created something out of nothing. Like, for example, against Everton, where he's literally just turned a man from 30 yards out and just banged it in the top corner. Stuff like that. When it comes to legacy, not about quality of player, when it comes to legacy, those things are incredibly important.
But you need to have quality of player.
No, quality of a player is important, but Drogba's a quality player. But where he goes above the other 3 people we're talking about today is that those moments of winning trophies for Chelsea, or those moments of being clutch, or those moments of sealing Premier Leagues, is where, for me, he jumps ahead of the other 3 that we're talking about.
So I hear you on that, and we spoke about this briefly backstage. So I need to go to Hussam on this. So those clutch moments are clutch moments because it wins trophies. But you said the other day when we're looking at legacy and we're talking about the quality of players, trophies shouldn't come into it. It should be primarily individual player awards. Only twice team of the year. I don't think he ever won PFA player of the year. Like, to only be in like 2 teams of the year, and that's kind of it really. He's in no Champions League dream teams or anything like that. Surely he can't even be looked at as a great in that. Like, where do you put Didier Drogba based on your logic?
Based on my logic, I think when comparing individuals, you can't look at trophies. That's just my issue with the situation. As in, when we're comparing two strikers of the same quality, let's look at stats, let's look at eye test, let's look at individual awards, let's look at like what they contributed to the game. But trophies per se is difficult because everyone was in a different situation. Like, and both of them had different teams. Obviously, both of them accomplished similar things in the game. Even in terms of trophies, they were pivotal to their teams. But obviously, my problem was last time when like the Gerrard thing got brought up, is the entire argument is based around he never won the Premier League, which is, in my opinion, the wrong argument. For this one, this is where this entire debate is actually crazy, because it's basically volume of goals against goals in important moments, and that's my opinion. I think Drogba probably scores you more goals in important moments, but Aguero is the better goal scorer and the guy who just scores more goals, full stop. So when you look at those 2 guys, if I have a World Cup final tomorrow, I'm taking Drogba. But for a 38-game season, I'd probably go Aguero. Both of them achieved similar things individually, but obviously with Drogba, he did make the World 11, which is no joke at all. That's actually like a massive thing, especially for a Premier League player, because there are only a few players who have made it into that World 11 as well. So it's just like, the thing is, when I say with trophies, with Paul Scholes, with other players in history, forget Scholes, with other players in history, my thing is, if I remove that player from that team, does that team still win that trophy, or do they not win the trophy? That's like my thing with the trophy arguments, is simply that. Like, if we remove that player X from the team, are they going to lose all the trophies they get? Like, are they just going to get destroyed? So with Man United, I'm not going to repeat this argument for everyone. If you get me for the Ferdinand one, for the Vidic one, for the Rooney one, for other players, I'm going to go like, yes, trophies, etc. I'm going to be with you on it. But my thing is, was the player that pivotal? Was he the number 1? Was he like, and how do I know if he's pivotal or not? By him getting recognized individually. Because if you're not recognized individually, that means you weren't that important to your team winning the things.
So, I totally get that argument. I feel like you've manufactured an argument because it was about making sure in the conversation, even though we wasn't actually talking Gerrard and Scholes, it came onto that, and you want Gerrard to win, and I get why. But we are still comparing players today. And this is the thing about individual awards. Your own argument has been undone because of Didier Drogba. As an example, Didier Drogba was overtly pivotal in so many things that Chelsea win, but he barely won any individual awards.
But he did get into the World 11 once.
What's barely though? What's barely?
Around,
I'm comparing
around top 10 in the Ballon d'Or.
I'm only comparing it to the example that was made the other night. So when you look at there's lots of awards he won. I'm talking about the standout awards, PFA Player of the Years.
2 golden boots, which doesn't get mentioned.
Golden boots are records as opposed to awards. I think
fair enough.
But I'm not going to go at Drogba here.
No.
When you look at the individual awards that say Steven Gerrard wins, or nominated for Ballon d'Or votes, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. But Drogba was not only an amazing world-class player, he was the most one of the most clutch players we've ever had in the Prem. But his level of nominations and awards compared to Gerrard's are a lot smaller. But he literally did things in finals the same. That's why for me, and I get your argument about, of course you have to look at what a player wins. Like 5 Ballon d'Ors for Ronaldo shouldn't be discounted. But I feel like but I do disagree with you when you say you can't look at winning trophies, because if you take away the clutch moments from Drogba that led to Chelsea winning, having historic moments, Drogba wouldn't be revered the way he is, and he wouldn't even be in this conversation. If it was just his goal scoring record alone, we'd go, quality striker, but not one of the elite of the elites. The reason we need Drogba is because he had those clutch moments, but they're only clutch because they win trophies. And I think that sometimes we manufacture our arguments to ensure that our favorite player wins, but then it's not consistent. And I'm consistent with every player I look at. It's clutch moments, trophies, individual awards, records that they break. And then the big one for me is longevity. How long were you how long were you influential? And on your Paul Scholes thing, I left it the other day because I just listening to you, I do believe if you take Paul Scholes out of Manchester United, we don't win as much as we did when he wasn't there. I think to say that we win everything we did without Paul Scholes, I think he's probably one of the most disrespectful things I've ever heard said about Paul Scholes. He was so important to Manchester United Football Club. The same as Lampard was for Chelsea, the same as Terry was for Chelsea. Like to say like Chelsea would have won everything they did if you took out Lampard or Gerrard or Petr Cech. That's what Paul Scholes was. He was a part of the spine of our team for over 15 plus years. Like he was so pivotal. On Drogba though, Daniel, like what's your take on him overall and his legacy within the game?
Yeah, no, look, I echo everything that David says. I think everyone's got their opinion of what makes a legacy, what makes a career something that's revered. And obviously, like we were speaking about, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, we were talking about how you're remembered and the things that matter. Obviously, I do disagree with Hussam a bit. I do think the trophies matter. Of course they do. I mean, and especially how you play or how your team plays. What is the biggest thing that in all the things that everyone speaks about Henry and how great he was, what's the biggest check against his mark? It's the fact that he didn't perform in a lot of the finals that Arsenal had. Champions League final haunts him as well, especially. These things matter, of course it does. And Drogba for me, he was just someone who knew how to win. When it came down to it, when the going got tough, when you needed a goal, he was someone who stood up to be counted. And I think you just have to remember this. Obviously, I'm talking about a lot of the flowery things. Like I'm not bringing in all the stats because I think everyone's gone over it. But I think the 2 golden boots matter because that's what I use to rebuttal any argument for people who says he wasn't a goal scorer. He proved he was a goal scorer. Yes, he didn't have amazing stats every single year. People forget that there were 2 seasons where he had huge injuries. He actually didn't play. He didn't play in 2 seasons for a lot of so when they talk about the 5-goal seasons, he didn't play in those seasons. He definitely did have one bad season. But look, for what Chelsea was, not every team has a 20-goal a season midfielder playing behind him. Drogba didn't need to score the amount of goals that everyone wants him to score. That's why you get names like Darren Ben, Jermaine Defoe, people saying that they're better than Drogba. No, they're probably better goal scorers, but they're not better players overall. But because of what he offered. One sec. He also led the league in assists, and that joins how many strikers in the Premier League can say they led the league in assists, and it shows you what he was able to do as a striker all in all. So look, for me, all in all, legacy is about defining moments, individual trophies, if you want to call it that, team trophies. So what your influence in your team actually impacted, and then obviously how you're remembered by everyone and by the masses. And I think Drogba, amongst everyone on this list in terms of importance and everything else that I mentioned, longevity, like you mentioned as well, Drogba trumps them all. But
I think, just as a quick throw out there before anyone else comes in, I do think Giggs should be number one. But again, we're talking about legacy. We're not talking about what's it called? Just the on the pitch stuff, and the off the pitch stuff does affect his legacy, because legacy for me includes that as well. The same way when we're talking about legacy, I actually think Rio Ferdinand is legacy wise over John Terry, just based off the things that happen off the pitch as well. Legacy is something, I stand by this. Off the pitch relations, how you handle yourself off the pitch, what you do off the pitch is huge to your legacy. How you are portrayed, how you carry yourself. And obviously, look, I don't want to spit on a man or do anything like that, but I think Giggs should be first, but he isn't because of that. And I think Drogba trumps him in that.
Yeah. Can I say really quickly why I agree on that Drogba thing?
Like Drogba.
Sorry, go on, Sonny.
I was going to say about this whole final thing, I think we need to realise everyone at the top flight kind of level goes into every single game the exact same mentality. So I think we kind of need to separate the finals from every single other game. So people say he scores final in, final out. It should be the same sort of like way we look at that game as every single other game. Because finals, look at Drogba. The night before the final, he might be a little bit more nervous, but it's still the same mentality in that final going into a game in every single other game he plays in his footballing career at that level in the Premier League. The night before a Premier League game, you think the same going into a final. Because a Premier League game is a massive game, and he didn't always deliver in Premier League games. So for me, we need to mix both in. No, he didn't always deliver in Premier League games.
I would like to raise my hand and have a conversation here. I would like to have this because I hate Didier Drogba, because I had to watch that guy bully my club over and over and over and over again. And it got to a point where I had to go get counselling, bruv. I swear to God, because like 13 goals in 11 games against us. That's a madness. But like, see what you're saying about the cup finals situation, Sonny. You played in 10. You played in 10 cup finals. You won 9 of them. 8, 9. He only lost one. He scored in pretty much every single one of those. He scored in the one against. Don't need to mention it, Terry, but he scored against you lot in extra time in 2007. You know what I mean? So like, and then obviously the Champions League final. You know what I mean? Like FA Cup finals. He turns up.
Yeah.
And the times where you need them to win, and that is a lot of trophies. If it was like 1 or 2 games. And it's like, oh, okay. Like when people try and put the Henry debate in, Arsenal played quite a decent number of cup finals. And like when Henry was there, he messed up in 2, as far as I'm concerned. And the others, he was either injured or suspended. So like, I look at for Henry, I look at the Galatasaray final in the UEFA Cup where he's got that header, and it's just like, come on, mate. That's a standard thing to do. Get that in. And the 2006 final, when Henry opens his body up on the edge of the box, there's only ever one place it normally goes. This time went down Valdez's throat. But other than that, you can't turn around. Like, we were down to 10 men in that game anyway. But Drogba don't care. Drogba's a flat track bully, man, in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Like when we talk about the number of assists that he get, he's just standing there, just beating off defenders, just chesting it down so Lampard could just smash it in from 20 yards. Do you know what I mean? Because he didn't score that goal. Look at last night in the England game, England versus Poland. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Lewandowski was in Maguire's pocket, or Lewandowski didn't have a good game. Every time he did get a touch, he tried to make something happen. He was world class. He's world class anyway for me, and I thought he stood out like a boss. And what he did do, he didn't score the goal, so no one's talking about him on the same level. But he was able to get that little bit of space and cross the ball in to make it happen. And things like that is what Drogba does.
What Lewandowski did last night is exactly what Didier Drogba used to do, which is why but Didier Drogba did it in the most pivotal games, semi-finals and finals. You could actually have a game where Maguire last night did pocket Lewandowski, but Lewandowski had the mentality not to give up. And then when he was in a different area of the pitch where the player that pocketed one night wasn't, and there's no reason for Maguire to be that far out of position, he carried on going. And what I loved about Didier Drogba, which is what I do think his mentality, and I don't think going into a final, and everybody says you just play the game, not the occasion. Why do some players freeze in finals and others don't? People rise to the occasion, fight or flight. And Drogba, he could have a quiet game, not do much, but he kept on trying. He almost like he kept that belief in himself for 90 minutes, 95 minutes, 120 minutes if it went into extra time, that at any moment, when I get my chance, I will take it. And that's the mentality which separates the great from the legends, in my opinion, when they just stay on point, they stay ready to go. So I disagree, respectfully, Sonny, disagree. I think your final performances matter. I'll give you an example. Would Steven Gerrard been as remembered for a last-minute equalising, screaming shot against West Ham if it was in October in the Premier League or in an FA Cup final? Which one mattered more?
That's the problem. We need to stop remembering people because of the occasion. Like, we need to. It's not fair. And say there's. I'm going to make up. Hang on. Let me make up some random player here. Say he played next to Drogba. He scored in almost most every single game, but he never really turned up in a final. You don't would respect Drogba more because he done it in the final.
No,
for me, that's not fair.
No, I'm not saying.
You're making a false equivalent. You're making a false equivalent. You're doing what everybody did. Whenever we do the trophy argument, people say, "Oh, you can't say Jonathan Greening's as good as Frank Lampard."
That's not that.
Maxwell's the best left back.
That's exactly that. It's a false equivalence. Nobody's saying if Drogba scored and did nothing all season and just scored in finals, wouldn't be a GOAT. If he didn't perform all season and just popped up in a final, no one's calling Jesse Lingard a GOAT because he scored in like 2 or 3 finals. They're not. You're literally.
Are you sure they're not calling him a GOAT?
What everybody does in these arguments, Sonny, you're going to the nth degree of the example. Drogba was brilliant in 95% of the games he played in, but to top it off, he was one of the most clutch players in pivotal games ever, period.
No, but that's my point. I'm not saying that he never turned up in other games. I'm saying it's just the fact that he always turned up more in finals, and people took him from this level to way higher than he should probably be just because he turned up in those finals.
Moments matter.
Exactly.
It's not just
Wait. Sonny, what do footballers, especially the ones who play for the best clubs, what do they play for? What is the end goal?
They play for trophies, but you don't get to the final by playing no other games.
Yeah, but it's not like Drogba. Did Drogba not perform along the way to the final?
They will no. All I'm saying is other players is look to take him to this level. The only reason you lot are comparing him at this level is because what he's done in finals.
You're acting like again. I'll go back to the other. I'll bring it back to Gerrard because I know you love him. You're acting like Gerrard didn't have help. There's no such thing. The biggest myth in football. Again, if I run the world, you go to prison for saying this. A proper jail sentence. One-man team. The one-man team phrase for me, it's like the most cringeworthy, basic bitch level football analysis. There is no team that's a one-man team. Some team systems rely on one player being that final end product. Some teams have a player that scores screamers out of nowhere. Without the team around them, you ain't winning. Like without Jerzy Dudek, he never really gets mentioned in the same way as a Gerrard in that Champions League final. But without his saves from the penalty spot and that brilliant save in the second half, or it might have been an extra time when it was 3-3, and he pulled off one of the best saves ever in a Champions League final, everything else everybody else done would have become immaterial. And it's like, but he's not remembered because he isn't the star, the poster boy, the one, the famous one. And that's what you're doing here. You're discounting. You're discounting what everybody else does. And because Lampard scored goals, that takes something away from Drogba's brilliance. It doesn't. You can have 5 players from one team that are considered Hall of Famers. That's it. It isn't hard. You know what? You can't have a Hall of Famer out of Chelsea's team because there's too many good players. Let's take it out. Let's pick Leeds United because they only had 1 star at any one time. It don't work like that.
Let me word it like this then. If Drogba scored those final goals in different games that weren't finals, he's not remembered like this. That's what annoys me. Yes. Those goals don't change. No, he's not.
Exactly.
Yes, because we're talking about legacy. And when it comes to legacy, your performance in key games. And
I'm against that.
So if you're against
always remember Didier Drogba.
Hang on a minute. Sorry, guys, one at a time. Sorry, Daniel, I need to ask this question because it goes back to the other night. A great conversation with Gerrard has a final named after him. Not because of how well he played, but because of the goal he scored. Like, you take that goal away, the rest of it's immaterial. Like, the reason, if you take away Gerrard's, 3 games in Gerrard's career change how everybody views him.
Facts.
Liverpool fans, if you take away the Olympiacos game, Champions League final, the comeback, and the FA Cup final against West Ham, even Liverpool fans who would still love him, you wouldn't revere him and love and adore him, and he wouldn't have the legacy. Those pivotal games in finals elevate everything else he did to the nth degree. It's why Man United.
But they shouldn't.
No, why shouldn't they?
They should.
Because the final is like I said earlier, final is the same game as any other game.
I mean, as long as he's consistent, as long as he's consistent with Gerrard, then I don't care.
As a football player, you go into the same game, you do the same things in every single game. A final is the same game as a Premier League game.
Because some players perform.
No, it's not, Sonny. At the end of 90 minutes in the Premier League, you do not get a trophy. You get a trophy after you win. Here's the thing. The reason I'm saying what I'm saying about Drogba, and I make sure I'm saying this, and I hope the Chelsea fans do the same thing when Gerrard's included. The final goals matter. That's what I just said with Drogba and Aguero. I said Aguero's volume of goals, Drogba's more important goals. When you say goals in finals don't matter, that's cap, because goals in final do matter, because when you finish those 90 minutes, you get rewarded with a trophy after it.
No, I ain't saying it don't matter. Of course they matter.
Let me just finish with this thing. Terry just made the perfect example with the Jersey Dudek. And the Jersey Dudek argument is the argument that destroys your argument. Jersey Dudek was trash that entire season and only turned up in the final. So that is a false equivalent. So we are not saying because he played well in the final, Drogba is amazing. We're saying he had an amazing season and turned up in the final. That's the difference between them two. Divock Origi was trash the entire season, scored in the semis and the finals. That is not making him amazing. But what makes him amazing is he got into the World 11. He was top 15 Ballon d'Or or higher for 5 years straight. He obviously won. He was in the two times the top goal scorer. So these things matter. So 2 times top goal scorer debunks everything you're saying right now.
No, but remember Origi in the Champions League final? We looked at him like a legend. No. You haven't heard me. We look at what Origi done in that Champions League final. So many Liverpool fans looked at him as a legend when he's nowhere near a legend.
He's not a legend. He's a cult hero.
And then compare it to Drogba. I'm not saying finals don't matter yet. It's just the fact that people take a final goal from here to all the way up here. Football game.
Yeah, but Sonny, I have to say,
sorry, guys, we've got to move on, otherwise we'll end up, because we do this too much on Terry. If you go around on the same point for an hour and it becomes boring. But I hear everything everyone's saying here. Keep those super chats. A lot of people are asking how much to super chat to get rid of Sonny. We're going to set a price. make me an offer. Make me an offer I can't refuse. And we'll see. Cedric, thank you for that super chat, my friend. I want to talk, like we are running out of time. I want to talk Ryan Giggs next. And a lot of people saying, why is there Ian there with strikers? I'm not worried about, when it comes to legacy debates, I don't really care what position people are. Legacy is legacy. Greatness is greatness. I want to speak Ryan Giggs for a moment, because I do understand. Look, he's got a lot of stuff going on at the minute, as you've mentioned. No one knows yet whether he's going to be found. If he's found, my view is this: if he's found innocent of what he's currently accused of, the other stuff he's done, I don't care about that. Like, honestly, like that for me that's someone's personal life. That isn't illegal. It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to judge someone's. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not judging that area of someone's life. It's up to them. I'd be a hypocrite. Trust me. If you knew me, you'd know I'm a hypocrite to judge me on that. Do you know what I mean? And most people are. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's very easy to judge somebody else's what they're up to at home in their home life, and without being in it yourself. No one knows the full SP. I don't, so I'm not judging that side of things. When it comes to him as a football player, though, Ryan Giggs, I've gone for everyone else. Nearly 1,000 games for Man United. Over 163 goals as a traditional winger and then a central midfielder, 250 assists. And it's funny, I was looking at his final performance, semi-finals, some of the semi-finals and finals he played in. There's not even like where it says like assists on the website, because they normally do goals and assists. Like every single game, there's no assists because they didn't even count the assists back then. That's how mad it is, right? So I Opta, please, if anyone at Opta is watching, anyone watches from Opta these shows, please do a recount. Go back and watch all the games from Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool players from like 1990 till now and recalibrate those assists, please. We need to know what they really come in as. But, over, I think it's 13 goal contributions in semi-finals and finals, 13 Premier Leagues, 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 2 Champions Leagues, 2 Young Player of the Year awards, 1 PFA player, 6 Teams of the Year, PFA Team of the Century, Champions League Dream Team of between 92 and 2002, which were his pomp years as a winger. Like, he's done everything. He's got the personal awards. He's got the goals, the assists, the fact that he changed positions and become a very good central midfielder after being a winger and was still winning Premier Leagues. I'm going to go to Gav first on this. How high do you rate the footballing legacy and greatness of Ryan Giggs? And should he be in that legend Hall of Fame category, in your opinion?
It's one of those weird ones where I feel that because of his longevity, we can't not put him there. That's how I feel personally, because like if in his first few seasons, well, I'm old enough to remember when he was making his debut, and like those few years up until like 99, 2000, those sort of times, lightning quick, unbelievable player, super quick, great left peg, was able to like cut inside. He would be waiting and just play a little nice one out to like Dennis Irwin and whip it over when you guys used to play a flat 4-4-2. You know, his intelligence was brilliant. And yeah, unfortunately, that goal in 99. But if Dennis Bergkamp scored that penalty, that never would have happened. But like, that is like an iconic moment. And sometimes I do feel that people use that iconic moment, that one iconic moment, to base his whole career. And I think that's wrong. I honestly believe that. I think we need to remember what he was doing in the early 90s. And if you're too young to remember, Sky Sports, you could go back and watch it. It's not a problem. As he got older, he was able to adapt. He was able to move forward in the game. That's what I'm talking about, the intelligence levels. He knew he didn't have that yard of pace anymore. So he had to come inside and do something differently. And he was able to use the guys around him because, as you said before, it's not a one-man team. It is a contribution. So he was able to use that experience to then almost like manage on the pitch. He was almost like an additional voice from Sir Alex when he was playing for me as a captain and as a leader. So you have to put him on the top tier.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with everything you said. I think when it comes to, start with the positives, when it comes to like your Mbappes, your Greenwoods, I'd say Ryan Giggs was probably one of the first in the Premier League era who truly lived up to his potential as a winger. I've fallen into the trap sometimes of comparing some of the modern day wingers to him, but they really fall short because you have to look at it like this. He's someone who was so good as a winger, did everything he needed to as a winger at that time, and that's the mistake we make. We live in such a stats era that it's so unfair to judge Giggs just by stats. And even if you do judge him by stats, I remember 2 seasons in the 90s where he does actually live up to the winger stats that people wanna see. But look, at the end of the day, I'm gonna pull you up. I'm gonna challenge you on something, Terry. Look, you said football and legacy. You want to separate one from the other. For me personally, like I alluded to earlier, I disagree. I think as footballers, yeah, we can be hypocritical. I'm not even saying I'm the perfect man. We've all done things that are bad. But as a footballer, you're judged to a different standard. And I don't mind. We're not talking about the footballing ability, because footballing ability and footballing legacy are 2 different things. Your legacy is how you're looked at as an individual. And obviously we're going to get into Suarez, and he comes into that category as well, unfortunately. Footballing legacy, how you're looked at, is huge to how your legacy is looked at, in my opinion, 1000%.
So on that, because I want to ask a few questions here. Like I've said already, a few people are like twisting my words in the comments. When I talk about the hypocritical bit, I'm not talking about the accusations that he's facing now. We cannot and will not speak about them as facts on the football terrace because they are allegations right now, and I don't need to be this channel being sued for defamation because we have no idea whether he has or hasn't done those things. They cannot be. People like in the comments, people can write what they want. They can say he is he's done X, Y, or Z. If he's convicted, you will not see him be defended by me. If he's found innocent, you will see me say, stop calling him that name. Like, I'm fair with everyone. Are we talking about the cheating here? That's the only other controversial thing I can think of. Are we talking about the cheating on his wife?
Yeah.
And do you know what it is? Like I said earlier, like when I was a younger lad, that's what I was talking about. I'm a bit of a naughty boy. Do you know what I mean? Mess about. Did I sleep with my brother's wife? No. I wouldn't, for multiple reasons, let alone hurting my brother. Like, Dusty, bruv. Like, I ain't going near it. But, like, at the same time, like, I'm kind of cool if people want to say we put him down. But then, do we have that? I mean, we mentioned Suarez. Suarez did something a lot worse than sleeping with your brother's wife. Like, he did something that's illegal. Like, how far do we take that? And I'm talking drink driving. I'm talking being arrested. I'm talking, I don't know, like, spitting at I know he did this when he wasn't a player, but spitting at a girl through a car window. And I'm not trying to find out people's clubs here. Like, for me, drink driving is worse than cheating on your wife because drink driving kills people. Yeah. Like, do you get my point? So my issue with all of these conversations, I'm open to democracy. We can put every single player down a category and legacy to whatever. he's done something wrong. But how far do we take that, and do we apply it to all players?
What I'm doing is, what you need to remember is, and how I always explain it and break things down is, we are talking about the greatest of the great, the elite of the elite, and we're separating a lot of things. I'm not putting a measuring stick on what each individual does. I'm not someone to like the legal systems put years on what someone has. A murderer gets more years than one person. I'm not someone who does that. I'm just saying, as an individual, as someone who leaves a legacy down for other people to judge his character, his footballing career and whatnot, Giggs has done some things which he obviously probably isn't proud of. And as far as his legacy goes, it ultimately is a bit of an indictment on him. Like I said, like I continue to say, Giggs should be first. When it comes to consistency, longevity, he's got everything. And I think he's a bit disrespected. He's one of the wingers that people say, oh, if Giggs wasn't there, you still would have won. No, it's not true.
And I totally get that, bro. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not trying to say you're only doing it to Giggs. My point is, I try to create consistency on the channel with debates. Are we applying that to someone who's been done for drink driving, someone who's, Kolo Toure got banned. I swear he got banned for taking a banned substance. Did he not?
Banned substance. All I'll say is very quickly.
I would like to know
as a last point, LeBron James, who is seen as one of the greatest basketball players on earth, one of the biggest pros in his corners for people saying why he is a GOAT is because he was basically seen as the star boy from college and everything like that. And throughout his whole career, he doesn't have one negative thing against him off the court, and that is in his corner because he's a model citizen, model professional. And the fact that he was such a star boy and he literally has nothing, no arrests, no nothing, and it
like
goes
Harry
in
Kane.
his corner.
Like Harry Kane.
Yeah, like Harry Kane.
He's mad over here. That winds people up about Harry Kane. That he's so squeaky clean.
The thing is, when it comes to the off the pitch stuff, it depends on the person because obviously, or like fully, like the way Daniel views the cheating is different to the way Terry views cheating, so you're going to end up with a different result. That's me. With the problem with me with Ryan Giggs, why I put Drogba above him, is because I'm not old enough, so I don't actually like my memories of Ryan Giggs are Ryan Giggs midfield, and when he was in midfield, he was very good, but you wouldn't say he was like elite. Like I'd still would have had Lampard in my midfield above Ryan Giggs at that time. But the only goal I know from the past is the one where he literally rounds everyone and takes off his shirt. And he's got the hairiest chest in the world. That's literally. You asked me about Ryan Giggs. That's his biggest moment. And my generation, the legacy.
And I get that, Hussein. From your point of view, like one thing I will say, I want to go back to football for a minute. I kind of feel with Ryan Giggs as well, and I'm not defending anything he's done, but I'm playing devil's advocate here. He, like a lot of Man United players, gets disrespected as a footballer. You've mentioned that already. Just an average winger. Scholes, just an average midfielder. Like, we had all the irony is when you break it down over the years on socials, all these average players we had, they won all these like 13 Premier League trophies between them over these years, but they were all average. Like, it's crazy. And then still people would challenge and say Fergie underachieved. It's like, well, how can we have all these average players, have a manager that's overrated, but still win more than everybody else in that era? It's crazy. But Hussein, from your point of view, like, where do you, on a footballing level, I wanted to speak about, where do you rate Ryan Giggs? From a left-sided winger, attacker, like, where do you rank him? The best, second best, third best? Like, where would you put him in that category?
Is Mane better than Giggs?
The problem is with Giggs, it's the longevity thing. So that's the one thing he has going for him. This man played for 24 years, which is not normal. That's the issue with it. But other players, what happened?
No, carry on.
No, it's because he said one thing.
You're getting onto it.
I have no idea what's happening. Should I stop?
No, I'll back you.
No, carry on.
You think Salah, Mahrez, a lot of these guys above Giggs?
As a footballer, I would take Salah over him. Honestly speaking, I actually would. Here's the thing. Like I said, I am not doing this to all United players. Do I take Alisson over Schmeichel? No. Do I take Van Dijk over Ferdinand? No. Do I take Trent over Neville? No. Do I take Robertson over Dennis Irwin? No. So this is just not a United thing. If me and Terry sat here and made a Liverpool United combined 11, I would literally just put one Liverpool player in there only, and that's Gerrard. And maybe just try to make an argument for one or two. But besides that, it's going to be filled with United players. My thing is, with Ryan Giggs, as a footballer, here's the thing. Was he average? No. Was he absolutely phenomenal? No, he was in that middle range. He was between average and amazing. So it's like something, in the middle of that. So he was neither, like, he wasn't like, oh my god, he's absolute shite, and he wasn't like, oh my god, he's Ronaldo level. He was like, that's my thing. The thing is with wingers of all time, obviously it's very interesting. I actually did a United all-time 11, and the United fans themselves put Ronaldo and Beckham on the wings. He's basically
like a crossbreed of James Milner, Marco Brighton-ish, isn't it?
No. I'm not doing that. I'm not going that far. I'm not doing that. But with Giggs, like, obviously his like, for example, the 99 season, he did score that important goal, but throughout the entire season, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he had 4 goals and 3 assists the entire season. So it's just like, obviously goals were different for a winger back then, but then how about assists with 2 people up front? So these are the things, man. I just don't know. For him, it's purely longevity for me, and the fact that he's just been involved for 24 years. But as a footballer, I don't rate him as highly as other footballers. That's just my.
So the long and short of it is that he's not in the top category.
Listen, I am remaining consistent for this entire thing. No, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm remaining consistent for this entire thing. I'm not putting Suarez, Giggs, or Terry in the thingy. I'm putting other players. But if you're telling me who's a better footballer, the conversation changes. Because to me, Terry is the greatest defender in Premier League history. But when we're talking about legacy, like Daniel said, legacy is different. Legacy means how people think of you. United fans are moving away from him. Chelsea fans are moving away from Terry because of what he's done. So these things do come into play, unfortunately. I know you don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it either. But the answer to all 4 players, I'd actually put Aguero and Drogba.
But to be fair, you said it anyway. Like, we're not even talking about now. You've already said, and I'm not going to back you, but I hear it. You've already said, as a footballer, you think he's between average and the elite. You think he's in the middle class. Terry,
Terry,
if Ronaldo is if Ronaldo is A plus, let me just say a final sentence. If Ronaldo is A plus and Mark Albrighton is C plus, then Ryan Giggs is B plus. Does that make sense? How is this crazy? I don't know how this is.
The fact Albrighton's meant to be 2 grades down.
I'm just giving an example.
What I love about this, like, you can tell by the joy that you're all getting out of it. It's like Ryan Giggs has hurt you and your clubs.
No, he hasn't.
He has, and especially Chelsea. No, you do remember it, especially Chelsea fans. There was that season, the season where we knocked you out the Champions League in the quarterfinals. He got 37-year-old Ryan Giggs getting 4 assists over those 2 games, like just ripping you apart at your pomp at your best time and everything like that. So I get why there is the disdain for Ryan Giggs, and I listened to everything you said there. He's between average and very good and all of this. It's his longevity in itself disproves you all wrong. And any of you now, Daniel, you profess to have a palette of impeccable football knowledge. Can you find me another player that was regarded as a world-class winger who become a top-class midfielder that at 40 years old dominated midfields and won Premier League titles? Can you name one?
No, there isn't one. There isn't.
But if you can do that as a footballer, you can't be average technically or with intelligence. Is that?
I guess the question I'll ask you then, though, is in a lot of people's minds, Ryan Giggs wasn't either a world-class winger or world-class midfielder.
He was a world-class winger. Between 1992 and the early noughties.
I agree.
He was world-class. Yeah, and Hussein, you have to agree with me because he made it into the Champions League dream team in that position over every other winger in the world in that 10-year period. So you must agree, yes?
Listen, 24
No. You said the other day, player awards matter more than trophies.
Yeah, no, they do.
In that era, hang on. You said he was just above average. In that period, he was voted into the Premier League Dream Team for that period, and the UEFA Champions League Dream Team in that period. There was until 2005, the FIFA Pro 11s didn't even exist, so he couldn't be voted into it because it didn't exist. So the awards that the Gerrards and that have been given weren't around when Ryan Giggs was in his pomp. So he got the best 2 awards possible for a left winger, and you just sat there and said he's only just above average. How can he be, by your own logic, if he was voted as the best in Europe in that time?
I'm not saying he's above average. I said he's not phenomenal and he's not average.
In the 10-year period that he was a winger, he was voted by UEFA and by the Premier League. And you said the other night, these are professionals and we have to take what they say seriously. He was voted as the best. How can he be the best in that period, but only be between amazing and average? How is that even plausible?
Obviously, I'm talking about the entire time. Like, I'm talking about the 24 years.
And then he transitioned from being a world-class winger into a midfielder, still dominated, and as a central midfielder, won more Premier League titles and got into more teams of the year than anybody else. 6 of them, PFA Player of the Year, Premier League all-time teams in that time period. So all the things you said the other day mean that Gerrard should be revered above Scholes. Ryan Giggs has all of them, plus the longevity, plus the goals, plus the assists, plus 13 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, and all that jazz. And we're saying that he's a B+. Honestly, the bitter, just you've been schooled. You've all been.
You know what he means.
Your own logics have undone you all there. 110.
Again, not all of us.
Not my reason for not including him.
He scored a 40-yarder.
And
he scored a 40-yarder on the opening day of the season, and he ain't scored again for the rest of the season. That's what Hassan's done.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I would say, guys? I didn't disagree with your reasons about the personal things from him being moved out. I asked about him, how you saw him as a football player, and you've basically said that he's a little bit better than Mark Albrighton, which is... You did. Hang on.
Ryan Giggs is a
Tell you, why don't you take it the other way? Why don't you say he's a bit under Cristiano Ronaldo? That's what I said.
Cristiano Ronaldo because Cristiano Ronaldo is only a little Chris is there, the best of the best. And interestingly, when it comes to Man United all-time 11, this is the irony. This is the small fish, big fish, little pond, little scenario again. Because what ends up happening is this: Gerrard always stands out because he was just he's your best player ever. Ryan Giggs was world class, but we've had so many world class players. What ends up happening is that you don't notice them as much. You're absolutely right. If Beckham's put on the right hand side and Ronaldo's put on the left, Giggs don't get into the team because Ronaldo was better
legacy then.
That doesn't take away Giggs' legacy. At the end of the day,
it does.
No, it doesn't. Let me explain this.
No, you have 2 world-class goalkeepers, but only one of them can start the game.
Yeah,
it's
forget that. That's a great example. But let me give you this point here. If I win 30 grand slams in tennis, and somebody else wins 31. That doesn't mean I don't have the second best legacy in the history of tennis because one person's better than me. That makes no sense. It
affects your legacy, how you're remembered.
No, it doesn't. Not the Man United fans. No, it doesn't. You're thinking that because you were starved as Liverpool fans for 30 years because you're starving. And do you know how you're going to know this? If you keep winning under FSG, in 10 years' time, when you have all these legends that you're creating now in this time, these arguments are going to, and in 10 years' time, you're going to be going, oh shit, I know what you mean now. Yeah. The legacy of Salah isn't any less because Mane's world class. Trent's brilliance isn't worse because Robbo's brilliant.
Joel Matip.
That's silent.
By your logic.
No, I'm letting you finish, Terry. I'm letting you finish.
I thought you were still talking. I
saw your brain. Do you know what I heard then? Do you know what I heard when I looked at your faces? Do you know what I heard? One sec. What I heard when I said that there, you know that noise that Windows used to make? Dung, 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 dung. I heard you log out.
Are we going to say something else? That point was
I was letting you finish. I did not interrupt you. That's it. The thing is, the same way you're saying I said he's above Albrighton, I also said he's just under Ronaldo. So why are not we using the upper echelon of the argument instead of the lower echelon? Because all I'm saying is
that's looking Albrighton so close to Ronaldo. It's unreal.
Because guys, we've got to move on. We've got to move on because we stay on things too long here. We've got to get to the final one now. Luis Suarez. Does anyone here actually think he deserves to be in Legend or Hall of Fame category in the Prem?
He's a better player than every single one of the ones we've just named, though. I'll tell you that now. In terms of ability, he's the best player on this list. I have no shadow of a doubt. He missed like 6 games at the start of a season and almost went on to break the record of most goal contributions in a season.
Why did he miss those 6 games?
We just spoke about Giggs. I thought we weren't doing that.
Why did he miss those 6 games?
We just spoke about Giggs and said we weren't doing that.
He was biting Ivanovic. Okay.
But we just spoke about Giggs doing something worse.
No. But Suarez is the word. It's Suarez for me. For me personally, as a person of color, for me, what Suarez did is awful, and the fact that they were wearing shirts after, even worse. But I'm not going to get into that. When it comes to Luis Suarez, right? First of all, he doesn't even have 100 Premier League goals, right? That's the first thing. Never scored in an EPL final, right? You were in one Carabao Cup final against Cardiff, and he beat him on pens. And he was in attacking midfield. And he did nothing, right?
Because Gerard's cousin decided to give you the trophy as well.
Yeah, Gerard's cousin was the one who missed it as well.
Stop that.
I don't want to hit Gerard.
Well, you've misunderstood my point there, David. Completely, because you just said he doesn't have 100 goals. It'd be quite weird if he had 100 goals because he only played about 100 games. So if he had that, he would be by far the best player on it. For me, he's the best player in terms of ability. I never said he's the biggest legend on it. I never said he's going to be remembered the most. I never said he's had the best career. But in terms of how good of a player he is the best.
You know what you've done, though? You've tried this, and it goes back to your previous argument. What you've tried to do earlier is set up for Suarez now. Suarez scored a lot of goals, but his record in his best ever season against
thank you. I was just about to say that.
It was rubbish. And his record in clutch moments wasn't great. And we know that because when it came to his final 3 games of the season, that little man, and I'll call him little for other reasons, went off the pitch crying his eyes out. Gerrard, it was my favorite moment in Premier League history, where I remember Gerrard a few years prior, kissing when cameras were in his face, kissing them and all that stuff. This time he's like, no, get the cameras away. We don't want to see one of them. Honestly, Luis Suarez had amazing ability, but in terms of his English football legacy as a footballer, bottle job. The most pivotal moment.
Punching mudded you. Jason Punch.
I still think you're lying. He has the best ability of these players. Honestly,
that's not the argument, though.
I think Suarez doesn't get into the Hall of Fame at all. I think it's unfair to everyone else. Like, there is plenty of legends to go. I think with Suarez at max, at best, he gets into the second tier. No way he gets into the first one at all. But like he like, there's even an argument whether he's a top 5 striker of all time in the Premier League. Like, people would argue that as well. So I wouldn't put him in the top tier at all. And I remain consistent, Terry. I know you like consistency. It's the same reason I didn't put Giggs in there. I'd put the 2 in there, but I do have to bounce because I have a stream active right now. So
okay, mate. Take care, mate. Speak to you soon.
Well, can I say the thing anyway then? Because I was saying about Drogba, saying how I think it should be more respected about goal scoring rather than what games he's scoring. Luis Suarez went a season where he missed 6 games and scored 31 non-penalty goals. Like, I don't think anyone's ever done that before. But that shows how good of a player he is. And look at the goals he scored. And look at what he can do. He can do all. Head the ball, dribble the ball, skills, pace. He could finish anything.
But now, obviously, fair enough, cool. Like, the trolling thing, like, we get it, innit? But now you're not even listening. Like, you're just responding to, like, we've literally just said that you've tried to set up an argument to which Suarez looks better in this limelight. But the topic of this stream is about his legacy, and his legacy isn't just to do with his goal scoring. Granted, he's at Granted, he's a better goal scorer than Drogba. But what does that mean in terms of his legacy? Because in terms of the bigger games, the games where he was supposed to be relied upon to get you over the line, where the whole point of football is to win trophies and to win the biggest games that are possible in the places in the pivotal moments you find yourselves in, Suarez went missing. So there is every right to say he's one of the best goal scorers we've seen, but we also have every right to say he's one of the biggest bottle jobs we've seen.
So yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. Like, because in his time, if you put his goals and his assists, he pretty much averages a goal or an assist every single game. That is remarkable. We have to put that into consideration. I don't think, for one, he was in the Premier League long enough for us to be talking about a legacy, and 2, what did Liverpool? Liverpool went from a mid-table club to a club that was challenging in that time. And so, like, when you put that in there, it's like, oh, okay, maybe you can get involved in that, but then that was all a team effort. That wasn't just Luis Suarez that was doing that. And I do take into consideration what you're saying, Sonny, in regards to that season where you missed the first 5-6 games and still bagged 31 goals, but bagging a hat-trick against Norwich isn't going to get you into, like, legendary status.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I think on top of that, look, I'm sad that Hussim's not here for this. I know there's the big thing. A lot of people saying about what he did at Barca. We're talking about their legacy when they play their English football legacy here, like in England. So that's what's important. Yes, he scored lots of goals. 47 assists and 82 goals in 133 games for Liverpool is an astonishing return. But that led, and again, I am being consistent, to one League Cup. The irony in that is that for someone like Hussim, that was 2 teams of the year and a PFA Player of the Year award, which on an individual level was great. And we all knew why Suarez was being propped up, because Liverpool weren't winning anything at the time. And it was almost this element of, like, I see this happen with Liverpool a lot. When Liverpool aren't winning anything, the media always seems to pick a player or two they love to elevate and gas up and talk about. And for me, what's missing from him, if he would have won a Premier League in that time, and maybe a Champions League, a Premier League and an FA Cup and the League Cup, I still think he could be someone that you look at as a legend of the league, because what he did in a short space of time had all this impact. But there has to be trophies at the end of it. Steven Gerrard.
I don't think there does.
No, there does.
Like, you lot are looking at the default setting of what a legend means. You need to you need to have a bit of a variety with it.
Legacy.
Hang on.
Legacy, when you look at someone's history, your legacy, what you leave behind X amount of trophies. Like when we're talking about, for instance, like Harry Kane, for argument's sake, I feel like he needs to move on to leave a proper legacy. Even Alan Shearer won a champion, not the Champions League, won the Premier League. Sorry, that would have been close. And won the Premier League in 1995 for a team that were no one. They got a bit of money pumped in by Jack Walker and stuff, but yeah, he then leaves a legacy, even just with Blackburn, let alone what he did after his move to Newcastle. So like Harry Kane at the moment doesn't leave a legacy. He's a legend of the game, or you could argue, and he's one of the best English strikers that we've ever seen.
But he isn't. Like, I love Harry Kane, but he needs to win trophies to cement. And this is where the argument falls down. I got maybe 100. I remember in the summer, I tweeted something about how many goals Bruno scored last year. And the response I got more than any other is, yeah, but where's his trophies? When it comes to conversations about a Suarez or a Gerrard, people don't want to talk trophies. When it's Bruno Fernandes, we do. Liverpool fans despise Harry Kane. I think it was because of the trying to claim that goal that wasn't a goal to take the golden boot away from Suarez, to be fair. But they all throw the same thing at him. You can't be world class until you start winning trophies. Liverpool Football Club, no one can chat to us about how well we do in Europe because of the trophies we've won. If trophies don't matter, then your 6 Champions Leagues are irrelevant.
You're speaking about a club legacy, not a player legacy.
Player legacies count because of what player legacies count because of what they generate for their football clubs. The reason that Drogba and Terry and Lampard and Cech and Cole mean so much to Chelsea players, more than Dennis Wise, more than Petrescu, more than Toriandro Flo, is because they brought the gold with them. We care more in this country about Jessica Ennis-Hill and Mo Farah and Linford Christie than we do our athletes that didn't win us medals at Olympics, because the winning of the trophy, the adulation and the joy that comes with it out trumps everything else. And to discount that as a Liverpool fan is weird to me, because I'll give you the best argument then. Hang on a minute. The reason your club is so famous is because of what you have won. It isn't. Club. Yes, but your club wins, and then your legends. None of your legends. But how many of your legends come from the barren 30-year era? Your biggest club legends. How many come from that era, and how many are from your winning eras? You're completely missing the point. No, I'm not missing the point. You are missing the exact point. Answer the question. Who are Liverpool's legends? How many come from Champions League and league title winning eras, and how many come from the barren spells?
It depends who you look at as a legend. You go back to the 70s, 80s where they won trophies, and of course there's legends there like Ian Rush, stuff like that. But even with Gerrard, even like Salah.
I'm going to get angry. Please stop. Don't make me. I'm being serious here. Who are your club's legends?
You know who our club's legends are.
Say it. I want to hear it.
Ian Rush. Gerrard, I'd even say Salah. Now, this is the point I was going to say. Listen to this point. With Salah, he could have won no Champions League, no Premier League. He would still be remembered at the exact extent as he is now for me, whether he'd won them or not. Yes, he would. No, it's not. Because look at this fact of what it is with Suarez. No. Look at what Suarez done. Look at Suarez's numbers, what he's done every single season. His stats tell you how good he's alone. For me, I look at players and go, you know what? If you're doing all you can, once you do all you can, that's good enough for me. Because what more can you do? Suarez done all he can.
Liar.
Salah the same as me. Salah could have went without a Premier League. Salah could have went without no Champions League. He could be sat in right now with 0 trophies, and he could retire today. He could retire today with 0 trophies, or he could retire today with what he has.
Where's Suarez? Where's Suarez and the guys that we've spoken about? Just so I can understand. So, in terms of legacy, where do you have him out of the 4 guys? First, second, third, or fourth?
Legacy, I'd still go 4th, but I'm still trying to back him.
No, okay, it's funny. Do you know what? I'm even going to disprove the point that he's your best player. So you said in his best season in the Premier League, guy got 31 goals, right? You didn't win a trophy that year.
No penalties, yeah.
He just got 31 goals. No penalties. Cool. In Drogba's 31 goals. What did he? Do you know what he got in all competitions?
Yeah, 37 and 44.
37 in 44. Right.
Name his assists too. I think he got like 10, 11, 12 assists as well in the Prem.
15.
Cool.
Oh, in the Prem.
I'm looking at Didier Drogba right now. Right, 2009, 2010, when we won a league and FA Cup double. In that season, in all comps, he got 37 goals in 44 games. So not only did he have the same goal scoring record, but also he won 2 trophies on top of that and performed in those finals.
So guys,
I've got
to go over to the audience in a minute on this. Like, Sonny, like, honestly, you know I like you, and I do get angry when people like don't answer questions directly. Like, I don't believe you. I don't believe that if this season Salah scores 50 league goals, 20 Champions League goals, and has 150 assists, your club scores 200 goals in the Prem, you have the most amazing performances ever in the Champions League, but you win nothing. I don't believe you're celebrating that more than when you won a trophy.
I'm not celebrating it more, but he's still 100% a legend and has a massive legacy without a trophy. So
that right, if you scored that amount of goals, you would, but you would remember it more as fans if he scored 20 goals less, but you won a league. So you not celebrating it as much, for me, and I gave a very warped, very extreme example, you would take less to win a trophy. Therefore, your argument that trophies don't enhance a legacy is cap.
I put Robbie Fowler over Luis Suarez in terms of legacy at Liverpool Football Club.
Robbie Fowler, Robbie Fowler, I put Fernando Torres over.
Wait, quick question then, Sonny. Who has the biggest legacy? Between Salah, Torres, and Suarez. Rank them 1 to 3. And what's the reason? Salah's number 1. Why is Salah number 1? Why is Salah number 1?
He has goals and trophies. I'm never saying trophies have no zero influence. I never said that.
You were cussing out earlier on saying that trophies didn't mean anything.
No, I never said trophies didn't mean anything. I say we completely overrate trophies. And going back to the Drogba thing, look at the finals. We overrate what people do in those games.
Salah, Suarez. Wait, Gav, one sec.
Trophies to back the argument.
One quick sec. Out of Salah, Torres, and Suarez, who's got the bigger moments for Liverpool?
Iconic moments?
Clutch moments.
Still Salah, because we actually won something. But I'm not saying clutch moments mean that much.
I rest my case.
What?
Guys, we're not going to go around that anymore. You 100% do, because I know you celebrated Salah's and
obviously I celebrated it.
So what goal do you celebrate more? Luis Suarez hat-trick against Norwich or Salah scoring in a Champions League final?
Salah scoring in the Champions League final. However, the
Champions League final is the same as the Norwich game. It's the same as the Norwich game. So why would you celebrate? Why would you celebrate it more?
What? Because it's a Champions League final. But that doesn't mean it's a better goal. That does not mean it's a better goal.
Exactly the same as cup finals. You said that. Honestly, I wish I looked at the minute of when you said that. You said that earlier on.
This
show.
Doesn't make him a bigger legend.
Guys, viewers, we've got 10 minutes of the show left. We're going to place the people now. The viewers can come in and do this. So, right. We're not putting... Is Suarez saying... uncategorized,
uncategorized,
underrated.
That Phil Neville category,
undercategorized. Cool.
He's rated. He's not
one sec, guys. Where's Aguero going?
Class player.
Top 20. Drogba,
legend, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Ryan Giggs.
We're only allowed to put 2 in the top category, aren't we?
Wait, how many in the top category? Only 2.
You're allowed to put 2 at a time.
No, guys, one sec. Yeah, only 2 out of today's 4.
Oh, yeah, he can go in legend as well then.
He's got to go in legend then.
What are you saying, Daniel? With his, you know, what would his brother say? Like, that's what I'm asking you. You care. You care what his brother thinks. You care. So,
no, Terry's twisted my words. He's a legend. He's a legend. But we were comparing legends with each other. So
yeah. From the top edge. Yeah, It's listen. If by the end of January, which is when the court case is, there's a guilty verdict. Like, I love Giggs, but trust me, he's gone. Like, he's out of there. Like, I won't put him back in unless he wins the appeal. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm a man of my word. And like I said before, like, that's what he's accused of now is some serious bad stuff. cheating, I don't know why as a person, unless someone does it to me or my brother, like, I don't care. Like, honestly, like, if someone rang me up and say, you can't have David on your channel. And someone's like, why? Like, I hear you. I do hear you.
And also, I know, but of course it matters though, because you need to hear all sides. And if you watch the podcast that his brother does, obviously maybe he stretched some things, but there's so much.
And I get all of that, and I'm not disputing anything his brother said. Like, I actually feel sorry for his brother. But what I mean is, as a person, if someone rang me tonight and said you can't have David on the show anymore, why? David's been sleeping with a married woman. He did cheat. My response would be, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. Like, when it comes to personal matters at home, outside, I just don't have any, like, I don't care to know. It's why I don't watch a lot of, like, you see the celebrities, their reality shows where you can watch them in their personal life. I'm like, I don't care what Peter Andre and Katie Price do at home. I couldn't care less. Like, honestly, like, I'm just terrible like that. I got nothing for it. But that's where it's been put. 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to change any of this, you want to get Giggs out, Drogba out, you want to put Aguero higher. If you want to categorize Suarez, the audience can have their say. Donations are welcome towards the football terrace. Let's see what people are saying in the comment section, though. I do love these debates. I do love them. They do you know what I love about them? It's legit. I'll be blunt. Nearly every day, people's opinions change on what should get someone in and out of these categories based on their that's why I try to be objective, and I wish that we could just create like a metric, and then we just run the metric and then they get placed. But then there's no debate. If there's no debate, it's a boring show, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you guys rate as more important, I would say? So I'll go to Daniel first on this. Is it records, individual achievements, or trophies won? Like, which, if you had to pick one of those three to be the most important for rating someone's greatness, their legacy, which would you say is the most important? Trophies, records, or individual awards?
I know you're going to get pissed because obviously you hate when people don't answer questions, but I think that's been the whole issue I've had with these legacy debates. It actually just depends on the players that you put forward. Like, it really does. But if you put a gun to my head, had to answer, I think the records. I think the records coincide with the individual trophies, though. So I put them as a package. I put them together, if that makes sense. So the individual stuff and then the records come together as one. That's what I think, anyway. But hey, I don't know if
if we're talking like records here, like Ryan Giggs takes the piss. Like, it's mad.
No.
And that's I mean, a lot of Ryan Giggs' records will never be done. Things like only player to score in 17 different Champions League tournaments, like played in 22 consecutive Premier League seasons, like that. Even that as a legacy is so important. To maintain your body for that long, to be able to play at that level in itself, like, deserves, like, most men at like 30, from like 35 onwards, like, imagine that, still being able to compete with 21-year-olds when you're 40. Like, super chat here says increase Hazard's there's a super chat coming to get Hazard. He was placed the other day in the overrated category. I mean, if we increase it, I suppose that's underrated. Maybe we should change that around. So he's back in underrated now. That's the increase up from there. Thank you very much for that super chat. Rodri Giggs' podcast by James English. I will go and have a listen to that, by the way. And look, I do sympathize. Listen, I'm not celebrating what Giggs did. I'm not like, oh, lad. Like, I don't think it's a good thing. I just have someone messaged me the other day going, oh yeah, what Rooney did to his missus. And I'm like, but I don't care. Like, it sounds like, I know it sounds really like callous of me, but I don't. Like, I care what the irony in it is. I would be the first person to, when it comes to like other things players have done, and we haven't had John Terry on the show yet, in terms of, what John Terry did, in my opinion, what Suarez did with the racist stuff. I would disown them as a player completely. If tomorrow there was Bruno Fernandes did what Suarez did, watch what I do. For what troubled me at the time of both those incidents is the level of defense I saw their fan bases throw towards their players. And it troubled me to this day, because I'm like, we hate on people for cheating, which is terrible and it breaks hearts. But then when it comes to racism, like that leader, like that sort of leader legends like banner still there, bruv. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of troubles. Like, I don't mind, like, in the sense of, that's your club. Your club is free to do what it wants. But it's like, I hear hundreds of Chelsea fans, Giggs can't be a legend because he cheated on his brother's wife. oh, what do you think of Terry? Oh, Terry's amazing, bro. I'm like, bro, like you got to see the irony in your morality. The morality is what's the problem.
I've always said, for me, when it comes to like the five of Chelsea, so Cech, Cole, Terry, Lampard, Drogba, he's at the bottom for me. And like I know a bit more about all of those. Like I don't really care for what Terry does like in his career. Like I really like, because at that point, because it's such an important thing to me, I was just like, yeah, because of what you. When I learned about it, because I wasn't old enough to know about when he did it, when I learned about it, I was like, yeah, so you're at the bottom now. The others now move ahead, because for me that's important. That's part of the reason why I really dislike Liverpool. I know people are like, Dave's got a Liverpool agenda. I do, quite frankly, because I cannot be comfortable being okay with a group of people that wore a shirt saying we're with Suarez basically after, like, while during the process. Like, for me, that's such a bad thing. And then to come out like 5 years later and be like, ooh, we're sorry. Like, look, come on, like,
Dave, if I'm honest, look, and this is my opinion, feel free to disagree with me, but no one's criteria is right. This is the point, and this is the reason why we debate. Like, it's so, like, what's the measuring stick? Oh, you cheated, so I take 5 points away from you. If you've like, if you've done this, I take 20 points away. Like, there's no measuring stick really to really say, oh yeah, I judge you by this, and this is why you're less than. I've just said, and that's why I've remained consistent. I said, look, Giggs for me, clean. Like, he is one of the most. And it's the wrong word to use, but it is, because there's so many young people who talk about football now. He's so misunderstood. Like, I don't know why there's a different baton when it comes to his footballing ability on the pitch. However, for me, just for me, I just think when we're comparing legends, that is something I used to take away from him, just a tad. But it doesn't take anything away from him, because he's still in there.
And do you know what it is, brother? I don't even disagree with you. And I laugh at your thing about taking points off it with certain things. Where fan bases get angry with one another is on that, though, because I remember my last normal job that I had, and it was when they started talking about Premier League Hall of Fame, and we were just chatting about it in the office, and there was a Liverpool fan there, nice lad, and a little bit like Sonny and like the venom he had towards the 1990s United legends, like. In his, I heard these. I never got involved. I never used to talk football really at work because it was a busman's holiday, if that made sense. But I literally, in the space of a month, heard him say Schmeichel was overrated, Stan was overrated, Keane was overrated, Scholes, Giggs overrated. As an example, Beckham overrated. And we've all seen those conversations with mass groups of fans on socials as well. It's like they're all overrated and none of them are good enough. But you could hear the venom. And when it comes to the Hall of Fame talk, I said, someone said to me, who do you think should be one of the first in? And I said, look, and at this time, there was no accusations of what's going on now with Giggs. And I just said, well, it's got to be Ryan Giggs. And like, boom, the guy come at me like a dog, like a vicious dog. Like, no, I can't. He done these bad things. Da, 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 da. And then I just listed a few like players that he mentioned, and they're off the field antics, from drink driving to this, arrested for that, charged for that, done with this, got away, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, what about them? It's not as bad as cheating on your missus. And I'm just sort of like, well, they are though, aren't they? But it's because you don't want a Man United player to be in there. Now, there are lots of Man United and Liverpool and Spurs and Arsenal fans that go for John Terry. And I think they hide behind the racism thing. I think they pull on it because they just don't want John Terry to get the recognition of the player that he wants, which I get. Everyone tries to put their rivals down more. Because what I know is that if it was an Arsenal legend that had done that, a lot of those same Arsenal fans would find a way to, but I'm just talking about the football side of things. And it's like, if you want to just talk football, then you can only talk about football about everybody. You can't bring up what Giggs did and what Luis Suarez did, but not what your favorite player. You know the fact that Tony Adams went to prison when he was playing football. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's the level of the crime, though, Terry. Do you know what I mean? It's like beating out your missus. It's different to being racist or like running someone over. Marcus Alonso, his situation.
Well, no, Marcus Alonso was a great example. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what he did, now he didn't get in trouble for it, but then, it is what it is. My point is, of course, it matters, but so I'm saying we either make it matter on every count or we don't do it at all. My point is, people will pick and choose what they pull on. So they will turn around and say, like, in your eyes, of course, but the Ryan Giggs example with my friend at work, none of the accusations, what Giggs is being accused of now, I get. And if he's guilty of it, he should never be in the Premier League Hall of Fame. I don't even really want him mentioned and spoken about at Man United in this. Of course, his name will be in the record books. If we build another statue, I don't want it to be Ryan Giggs. And I'll say that now, open and honest on here. 100%. If Bruno tomorrow did what John Terry or Suarez did, I would be disgusted at my club if they didn't sell him. 110% disgusted at my club. If I didn't sell, if we didn't sell him instantly, sack him, sell him. If we defended him and kept him, I would be mortified by it. But I'd be consistent in that. My point is, I see people pick and choose when they care. And I saw it a few years ago on fan channels. There was literally like a few-week period where there were some Spurs fans, all these Spurs fans, because there was a couple of Spurs fans that were racially abused, and Spurs community began mental. And a few weeks later, a Spurs fan threw a banana at Aubameyang and the Spurs community were dead quiet about it. There was no videos, there was no real tweets. It was like, oh no, I better keep quiet. And this is my point. It's what we see all the time on socials is we only shout when it's someone we don't like or someone we want to put down that does it. When it's one of our friends or it's our community that does it, too often there's silence. And like that's my point though. That's my point on that. Right, we've got a super chat here. I've got 5 minutes of the show left to go. This says Aguero in the Hall of Fame over Drogba. Drogba has been moved out for Sergio Aguero as it stands right now, ladies and gentlemen. He has been moved out. There's another comment here that's come in. I missed it to put it on the screen, but they want Eden Hazard moved up again. So he's being moved into future Hall of Famer as it stands. 5 minutes to go on the show. Someone here says you'd lead it. I don't quite know what that means. But yeah, maybe you're talking to each other in the comment section. But there we go. I mean,
hang on, Terry, show me that tier list really quickly again. I just want to see the thing. Yeah.
What?
Okay. No. Okay.
No, you're thinking something. I want to know what you're thinking.
I just think it's a bit harsh on Stella. I mean, we all know it's a bit like Trent. We all know he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. For me, he's already won. So
not yet.
He can't be. He's still playing.
Well, you can't be if he's still playing.
He's still playing the Prem in particular. What you saying? You're saying Trent Alexander-Arnold is a future Hall of Famer?
No. Well, that was a different debate, but it's like the same sort of thing where Trent's going to be that, but in my opinion, he already is.
No,
he's going to be there.
Guys, just to set the context, contextually. So we were talking about the greatest fullbacks in Premier League history, and there was one category that was like potential GOAT, which we thought Trent could go into. He could go into potential GOAT. However, Sonny says that he's already one of the best two fullbacks who have ever played in the Prem.
Trent can stink for the next 10 years. And would you still put him in that conversation? It's too early to make that decision. We've seen loads of players. We've seen loads of players come out. We've seen loads of players come out the blocks and be like, right, okay, and we put enough pressure on them, especially English players. English players, we always put pressure on them. Look, it's happening with everything. It's happening in the tennis. Me and Terry had a little bit of dialogue earlier on today about Emma Raducanu, right? Emma Raducanu, tennis player, very, very small point. Like, she's 18. I was watching the TV this morning. They were like, oh, is she already better than Andy Murray? Come off it, man. Because she's young. Because they're young, we can't always be putting that much pressure on them. Let them play. Let's see what they're like when they're 24, 25, 26 years old. Because as I said, he could break his leg at the weekend, and he might not ever be able to come back from it, or get an ACL injury and never be the same player again. And we cannot then talk about him being a GOAT player or a future Hall of Famer at his age now if that sort of thing happens. Let's see where he is.
I think he can be, and that's why we all thought he should go into the future. It was in that means potential means that could happen. No. It's a bit like you look at. I like fighting. It's like Conor McGregor is a great example here for me, because Conor McGregor, when he became the champ, it was like this guy could end up, he'd done something no one else had done. It was like, if a few title defenses in both weight categories, or maybe winning a third, he could have gone down as the greatest ever. But he then made decisions in his career to go out and do different sports. And then he's, running businesses. And by the way, man's worth like £800 million after selling his majority share in Proper 12. Like people keep saying he's a loser and a bum. Now I'm like, bruv, he is winning. Like he's winning. Like he is not. He's losing some fights, but he isn't losing. But in terms of his legacy in the UFC, it will be damaged if he keeps losing, although he's achieved. And it's based on decision making. It's decision making only that's done that. I don't think it's that whole silk pajamas. That it's hard to get yourself into the mindset to fight these animals when you're worth £800 million. Like, it just is. Yeah. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, no one knows what he's going to do. It could be injury, but it could also be mindset. Trent Alexander-Arnold under a different manager and different system could look not awful, but might not be the same very player, which is why, for instance, why I regard Cristiano Ronaldo so highly. Different countries, different cultures, different weathers, different managers, different systems, different leagues, same Ronaldo. Like, he's one of the very few players that's tested himself in all those scenarios and still come out as the best player in his league or best goal scorer as he's got older. We have some super chats here. Strip Bearers firmed Drogba up. Drogba is firmed up. It's going to cost. Hang on. There's another super chat. Drogba is the most clutch player. It's another 10. Wow, that's £60 to get Drogba out. And by the way, create a new God tier. Strip Bear wants a God tier created. And that's the rules here. So this is what the football terrorists do. So Strip Bear might have been the person that even invented this. She bid in once and she's like, I want to create a new tier, a God tier. And I'm assuming, Strip Bear, that means you want to have Didier Drogba in the God tier. I assume it means you want Didier Drogba in the God tier.
I think they're talking about Salah.
Wow.
Salah?
Yeah, I don't think we were speaking about Salah at the time those super chats came through. So I
need to go back. I need to go back to this. Do you think Trent is a top 2 fullback already?
Yes. Name me another player to do what he's done in his position from 19 years old.
No. You know what? I'm going to name you.
How amount of trophies he's won?
No.
I'm going to name you 5 better fullbacks right now off the top of my head. Ashley Cole. Right now, off the top of my head.
Oh, I think right now isn't playing.
Oh, no, not playing. No, I'm talking about in Premier League career.
Can you name any?
Ashley Cole is a better fullback than Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
Dennis Irwin is a better fullback than Trent Alexander-Arnold. Gary Neville is a better fullback than Cesar Azpilicueta. 9 years in the Premier League, 0 errors leading to goals.
No.
He's better than Trent.
That's a howler.
How is no? It's not.
You know what I mean?
Did you say Gary Neville?
Guys, one at a time, please. One at a
time. In there.
Guys, one at a time. I need to. Why? What is it that Trent's done, barring your audacious claim that he invented attacking fullbacks? What is it he's done that elevates him so highly? Like, what has he achieved at his age that makes it so special outside of him having a really good cross? Like, what is it? What is it?
The last 3 seasons, we all know Kevin De Bruyne is the best midfielder in the world. In the last 3 seasons, I believe he's 1 or 2 assists less than him, and that's from right.
Sorry, guys, everyone, please. I said, take away his brilliant crossing.
You can't.
What else has he done that makes him the best fullback? What is it? I need you to say. What's he done?
He's played right back for one of the best Premier League teams ever.
Right. So the others have all done that. So what has he done that stands him out at 21?
You taking away his crossing. Why don't we go take away Ashley Cole's defending, stuff like that, if we're going to do that?
Because if you take away Ashley Cole's defending, you end up with Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's why.
That's why I said a minute ago. Holding that Trent can't defend.
You don't want to say it, but I know it's on the tip of your tongue, right? Whenever it came to like a couple of years ago, when everyone was a year or so ago, when AWB and Reece James were being compared to him, what was the phrase that all Liverpool fans used? Show us your Champions League. Show us your Premier League if you want to compare. Now, Reece James has got one of them, so it's gone away a little bit. But you know what makes me laugh about Liverpool fans using that? And I see all of you tweet it. Is I thought trophies didn't make you a better player.
I never said that.
That smile on his face. You've thrown that at people.
No, when the Chelsea fans were saying Reece James is better, and Liverpool saying Wan-Bissaka, I just said you're lying.
That is why. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes of the show left. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, people get at Liverpool fans. When it comes to Gerrard debates, trophies don't matter. When it comes to Mo Salah versus Eden Hazard, trophies start to matter. Champions League trophies. What's he done in there? It's the change like the British weather, my brother. There's a comment here that says, one second, let me do this super chat, bro, from Jack, who says Trent is just an English. I can't read that word. How can Trent be a top 2 right back when he can't defend?
Can I go back to the point there really quick about Reece James and Wan-Bissaka being better than Trent, which is bollocks? You could say Wan-Bissaka could have 2 more Champions Leagues than Trent. Reece James could have another Champions League ahead of Trent and another 2 Premier League titles. Would you lot seriously sit and tell me that they're better players than Trent? I just never believed that from scratch because it's not true.
For me, I prefer defensive right backs to attacking right backs because I believe as a right back, your first job is defend. So that's where I would pick Wan-Bissaka over Trent and Reece James. That's my reasoning because effectively my focus is away from Trent's strength. Trent as an attacking fullback is amazing, and I'm not even saying Trent has the potential to become the best right back in the Premier League. He does have that potential, but he's not.
Even what you said though, sorry, is a lie. Like AWB isn't a better defensive right back than Reece James. AWB is the best one-on-one defender in the league. No one can take that away from him. But his defensive awareness in the air, at the back stick. He's poor at that. Like that is one of his biggest weaknesses as a defender. And Reece James excels and that's why when it comes into the all-around package, sorry, Gav, that's why when it comes into the all-around package, I personally think Reece James is the most complete. However,
I'm with you with the Reece James thing, because if you look at like, let's say Lukaku right now, with someone like him in the box, we are going to be seeing those assist levels creeping up for someone like Reece James because
he's already got 2
in the box. And not just that, I think AWB, I think he's a fantastic player. I really do. And I hate these sort of debates because when you look at it as in like who's better, 1, 2 or 3, number 3 doesn't automatically become terrible. It's just on that list, we believe that person is third on that list. And I think AWB is a reactionary defender who's not very proactive. But that comes with age and experience. He'll get better at that. And we've already seen the good things he can do. I just think he needs a bit more guidance and a bit more like edging towards
AWB's flaws could actually help him in that debate, if it's still a debate longer term. Because if and when he improves on certain things he's criticized for, you'll notice that improvement. I don't know how much better, legitimately, like Reece James and Trent can get. Trent and Reece James are a little bit weird to me in the sense of they're kind of like, as young kids, were already brilliant. Like, it's very rare to see fullbacks that good at their age. Now, they might go on to like extraordinary levels of football. They might just stay. We've seen this a lot as well. Players can be really good at their age, and then they stay this good, but they never get any. Rooney was like it. Rooney never got any better after 21. He was very good, but he didn't then elevate like Messi and Ronaldo. So it's going to be interesting to see. We've got a final few super chats here. Trent could be absolutely brilliant, but the man couldn't mark a year 2 spelling test. Right, there we go. He's consistently makes errors. David bang on, not even top 10. Trent can't even do his job as a defender. What is the point of playing right back when you can't effing defend? Sonny is just talking crap.
Another myth.
Cap. Trent is a better footballer. AWB is a better defender. Reece James is better all round. We've got a comment here, like right, they have to move Salah down to overrated. He's been put down into overrated on the polls here. I think that's all the super chats. I want to make sure I don't miss any of these. Yeah, I haven't missed any. And one here that's come in.
Question.
One sec, bro. Sorry, bro. Let me just do these super chats, please. Mr. Carrot, please respect older players like Roberto Carlos, who were better than Trent in defending and attacking. You disrespect other players by saying that, is what's being said. Eden to legend and Salah to uncategorized. Bro, I don't know how much money that is in real terms, but it costs like 5 to move someone up or down. Like, we have to respect what other super chatters have donated to the terrace to do that, and you put in like £1.70. So I need to be, I can't, because I need to be respectful to our other donations to the football terrace. I want to make sure I haven't missed any super chats. I've got one that's just come through here as well. Liverpool fan here. Robertson is an elite top tier fullback. Incredible both defensively and offensively. Yes. Trent has potential and has recorded elite assist stats, but has a lot to improve defensively. Do you know what's interesting? I'll go to your question in a minute about what's really interesting about Trent and Robertson. Robertson's better, in my opinion, overall. But the reason that Trent is heralded is because it's poster boy status. He's the more famous, the more superstar-esque of the two, even though he's not as good. That's why the player award thing is a concern for me, because the Liverpool community will always elevate Trent higher, mainly because he's a Scouser. And because
you think Robertson's a better player?
Overall, yes, he's a better defender.
Yeah.
He's very good. He's very, very good at the attack. I don't think he's as good as the attacking side, but when you add in Robertson's defensive attributes compared to Trent, overall, across all of them, he is a better footballer. But because he isn't a Scouser, and because he isn't a sort of poster boy of Liverpool Football Club, he isn't elevated or marketed in the same way. Thus, Trent gets the plaudits, which is why player awards can be misleading. Sorry, the super chats again crazy here. Where is Bergkamp, Cantona, Letitia, Scholes? We will be adding them to the tiers in later streams over the course of the season, Mark. Thank you very, very much indeed for that. Now it's possible. Now it is possible. He increased his super chat. I need to be respectful. What is it he said he wanted? He wanted Eden Hazard into legend, which we can do. So he's been moved into the legend category. And
uncategorized.
Salah is now uncategorized. He doesn't even have a position. There you go. Fans get to have to say, yeah, Gav, final point over to you, mate.
It's just very brief, very brief. I would like to know if the same energy would be there if, let's say, right now, there was a swap deal between Trent and Reece James. No, a swap deal. In fact, let's just say Reece James has played for Liverpool this whole time and Trent was playing for Chelsea this whole time. Would you still be having the same energy towards Trent Alexander-Arnold? Or would you then have a different narrative because he's not playing for your club?
Well, Chelsea would have won the league and the Champions League if they had Trent at right back. So, yes, I would look at it as an achievement. Trent would be very good there. We'd have Reece James. We wouldn't have won the league.
Whoa.
I mean, we did.
Trophies doesn't matter. So you've just done
according to you, like, guys.
If you keep a Scouser on long enough, if you keep a Scouser on long enough, they always undo their own lies and logic.
Look at it a different way. I never said trophies weren't an achievement. I never said trophies wasn't an achievement. Trent would win literally everything at Chelsea if he
finals are not even. You said a final is no different to a preseason game earlier, bruv. Do you know what I mean?
But the final's not the only game in the competition.
It's the most important. Listen, I'm only winding you up. Sonny Dunnington, Sonny. We're gonna start calling you Lunny, because you got Eld, bruv. Do you know what I mean? Listen,
you lot just don't understand it. That's all it is.
Mate, listen, it's very hard to understand you at times. It's very hard indeed. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, thank you. To all the super chatters, thank you. Gav, Hossim that's now left us, of course, Sonny, Daniel and David, thank you very, very much indeed. We're back tomorrow with more content for you. Until then, take care. Strip Bear, thank you for your brilliant donations as well. Take care. Good.